Hey again, welcome everybody. Hey, my name is Keith Jones, and I'm so excited today. Normally, the person who'll be with me co-hosting here. Well, guess what? He's still here, but he's the feature investor, Scott Buckles, a champion of champions. This guy has the heart. Oh my gosh, and he just loves it. If it wasn't for him, we really wouldn't be having this online. He foresaw this way before COVID, and he was like, you know what? There's people who really want to understand about real estate investing, but people always talk about things that they did in the past. He says, what about the people who are doing things currently? Can we get people to kind of share their story as they kind of go through? And I was like, that's an awesome idea. And so not only does he help people and he shows investors, he's an investor himself, and he's got this one good one today. Um, he got some twists and turns he's going to talk about, but I'm so excited. Hey, Scott, if you don't mind coming on out, I know you, but we got people from all over the United States, even in Cancun right now, relaxing, but they really took their time out of the day to hear what you have when it comes to real estate investing. So, just like always, if you don't mind, kind of talk about a little bit about yourself. Why did you get started in real estate investing? What kind of like wanted you to connect with this community, and anything else you want to share? So, Scott, if you don't mind coming on out and sharing.
Absolutely. Hey, Keith, thank you for taking the reins completely today. You do a marvelous job on these property tours. And I decided, hey, I haven't done an actual property tour on any of my properties, even though I'm very active and I'm constantly involved in real estate and I'm doing deals. I'm currently involved in two. I'm getting ready to close and start another project where I'll be building four houses at one time. But I thought, it'd be a good time for me to come out and maybe share a little bit about my story. I think stories are really important, Keith. I think, you know, backgrounds and where we were in our lives and what happened and hopefully this will resonate with people. But my career, my life, I was in the corporate world for over 35 years. I worked for a big box retail company. So retail sales was really my background, marketing, retail, that type of thing. But about in 2015, I went through what a lot of people in America and all over the world have gone through, and that was, the company that I worked for, had changes, had different directions, and at the time, I was a project manager for the company, and I was responsible for traveling around the country and helping open up new retail stores. And then the focus was, hey, we're not going to do that anymore. So we'd love to have you stay, but we'll need you to stay for about 60% of what you were making before. And so I decided it was time to do something different. And I've always had a passion for real estate investing. I grew up in a family. My mother and father, back in the 70s and 80s, acquired quite a few rental properties. Um, and they had no clue what they were doing, but they were able to successfully, because they were both dual income earners, they were able to acquire properties very reasonable, very low, and they saw the value of actually, having assets and having those assets produce income. And that was pretty exciting. I think at one time they might have got up to about 29 properties. And so I had that, that drive myself. And I actually went out, for folks who know this name, I went out and acquired the Carlton Sheets VHS tapes. I know there's been a lot of people on here that may not even know, Keith, what VHS is. But I acquired that in a VHS format and then actually ended up switching it to CDs when CDs came out. And so I was really had the bug. But, like a lot of people, I had that interest. And I bought all this stuff, bought these videos. Back then, there wasn't like any type of events I could go to. So I was buying this type of stuff, but I never put it into practice. I never had a community. I never had other people that, that I could collaborate and bounce things off of. and succeed with. And so, life gets in, I say that life gets in the way. It really doesn't get in the way. It's just part of our journey in life. I got married, I have 5 children, I have 8 grandchildren. So I would not change it in any way. I wish I'd have found this community, you know, 15 years ago, but because you really never know what you don't know. And I learned that phrase very, very quickly when I found the community and I started getting involved in building relationships and building knowledge through education. And but so my journey was, corporate America, retail, had family. I was kind of doing the American type dream. I went to school, got good grades, got married, started raising a family. When I was 55, I'd only worked at 2 places my whole adult life. And that today is very rare. People don't do that kind of thing anymore. And but I'd only worked at 2 different places my whole life. And then the second place, I'd been there for, gosh, 18 years. And that's when the downsize happened. And I decided to do something else. So again, guess what? That thing that was in the back of my head, that drive of like, this is the time. I need to really do a much better job in exploring what this real estate investing thing is. And so I did a lot of due diligence. I went online, I checked out a lot of different YouTube things and stuff like that. And I was on LinkedIn one day, which is a very good site for business. But I was on LinkedIn one day and I was just typing in the search bar, real estate investors, real estate investing groups. And I came across this individual out of Chicago that I read his bio. He came out of corporate America and had a high end job, and he was doing real estate investing and part of this community or group that was a nationwide community. And but he was in Chicago, and I live in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. So that's about 6.5, 7 hour drive for me. And so I reached out to him. I really like what he said. And I said, well, let me just see what this is all about, what this community, what this group is about. And so I started attending things like this, like a property tour. There were some other things I attended online and watched a few recordings and things like that. And one day I told my wife, Keith, I was like, you know what? That stuff I've been checking out? And she's like, yeah. I said, I think I'm going to get in the car tomorrow morning really early and drive to Chicago. And she goes, you're going to do what? I said, I'm going to drive to Chicago and I'm going to check this group out. I'm going to check this community. They've got this meeting on Thursday night. It was Wednesday. I mean, I made this decision like at 8 o'clock at night Wednesday. And so I got up early Thursday, threw a few things together. I was going to, enough stuff to stay maybe one night if I wanted to and get a good start the next morning back. And so I drove up there without telling this individual I was coming. And I entered this meeting or this group, and there was over 300 people there. And I was just blown away. I was amazed, not by the number of people, but the atmosphere and the how people were like embracing me. And there was such, I could sense the pay it forward mindset. And so what happened was I went to this meeting and I ended up staying until Saturday night. I went to another meeting on Friday, and then I went to this huge training on Saturday, but I was going up for one night. I remember calling my wife Thursday night when I got back to the hotel room, and I go, hey, honey, remember I was going to drive back in the morning? I think I'm going to stay another day or two. I think this is the real thing. This group, this community. And there was actually people in this meeting, guys, that had drove from St. Louis, from Wisconsin, from Minnesota, from Northern Ohio. Even one guy drove from Colorado. And I thought, this is awesome. So that's how I got started, Keith. And hopefully that might help some other people or resonate if you're out there and you're in a W-2 world, or maybe just getting out of a W-2 world, and you're trying to find something different. I mean, I was just blown away, and I am so glad that I just jumped in, Keith, and got started with everything.
Yeah, that's really awesome because there's a lot of nuggets that you had in there, and I hope people are really understanding, because everybody has different backgrounds and where they come, right? But there's a one point where if you really want to know, you really want to do something, you have the willpower to actually do it. And it all takes with taking action on something. No matter what it is in life, you still got to take some action. And even though you come from a family who was doing real estate investing, some information wasn't really transferred over, right? You saw it can be done, but it was more of like, okay, how do I plug in and get into something where you can own it for yourself? Because we all do that as as people, as young folks, even, we did it to our parents and our kids do it to us, right? It's like you did it, but I want to kind of own it myself. And that's really awesome that you did that. And so again, if you're just coming on board, welcome. Scott was kind of talking about how he got started, how he got plugged in, and his why he really wanted to get into real estate investing. So we're going to now go ahead and dive into this property. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up this picture. All right, can you see it? It should be coming up.
It's working on it, Keith. There you go.
All right, awesome. Okay, so Scott, first of all, if just because we got some people who just came on, let us know like where you at, where this property is, how you found it, and kind of go from there.
Absolutely. So I think before we just jump into that a little bit, so just to share with everybody, I do a lot of different strategies, and I love new construction. I'm actually building a house right now. I'm getting ready to do insulation next week for anybody that understands the process of a new construction house. I'm getting ready to fire caulk, fire block, and insulate next week. And then once we get that inspection done, then we're off to the races, and drywall goes up, and we have our next inspections, our final inspection, and our final deck inspection. But so I love to build new homes. I love to flip properties, but I also like the whole idea of long-term rentals and holding those properties, and building value and equity in those properties through tenants. And so there's several different uh, real estate investing strategies that I do. So this particular property, Keith, now again, this is something I acquired in last year in 2023, but this property was acquired and found through relationships. And I didn't just wake up one day and have all these instant relationships. I had to work at it, building relationships, good quality relationships with like-minded people, you know and people that are in the business that'll be a big part of my growth and my journey. So I found this through a combination of a wholesaler and a realtor, and this is what they call a pocket listing. And so the realtor found out about it before it went on the market. And I had a good enough relationship with this realtor that he was like, hey, this wholesaler's got it, but they're getting ready to put it on the market. And you might want to take a look at it because I think it's right up your alley. And so I found it through that. It wasn't on the MLS. And so, I went over to the property and took a look at the property. And one of the things that I always look at on an older property, if it's going to be a renovation of any sort, any type of repair work being done to it, I look at several different things. I'm looking at multiple exit strategies. And basically what that means is, what am I going to do with the property when I'm finished? Am I going to hold on to it and rent it? Am I going to keep it for a short-term rental? Am I going to keep it for, in this case, because it's so close to two universities in Cincinnati. It's close to Xavier and close to University of Cincinnati. Am I going to keep it for student housing? Okay. Am I going to flip this property? Okay. You know, how do I go about doing the rehab so that I have multiple strategies at my fingertips so I can determine what the best course of action is. So that's basically something we learn through our education, through our community, of having multiple exit strategies. And because things happen, uh, last year I had some issues medically, and well, those were actually going on for a few years, and a couple years anyway. But last year was kind of the year I finally got over what I call the hump, and I started feeling like a human being again. I started feeling close to 100%. And so you never know what life will throw at us. And you don't know how the market may change. You don't know how the economy may change. There's just a lot of factors that sometimes are out of your control. And so you want to have those multiple extras. So I looked at this property and it actually checked all the boxes. I could keep it for a long-term rental. I could make it a short-term rental. I could turn it into a duplex and rent it out. I could keep it as a single house and rent it out. I could keep it for student housing. Okay. I could finish it, renovate it, tenant it, and then sell it as a turnkey investment to another investor, or I could just flip it. So it had all the boxes for me. Now, not every property you look at may have all the boxes, but since it was in the location, the right area, the right type of property, that's what I saw, Keith. So what you're seeing here is like when I looked at it at first. This is the very beginning. There is obviously some damage here. You can see in the soffits. It's not easy to see, but up at the very peak of that back of the house, there was a huge infestation, a wasp or hornet infestation. It was nasty. And then there was some soffit damage, fascia damage. The property, the owner had really not put any money back into this property. And you could see the back windows, they were all the old wood with the rope and anchor type windows. And most of them didn't even work. A lot of them were broken. And a lot of them had security bars on them and stuff like that. So that's the back picture. Over to the right, you can kind of see part of the back and then the side where the driveway is. Now, the chimney was in really good shape. The bricks, I didn't have to do any what we call tucking in there. I didn't have to do any of that. It was in really good shape. I ended up power washing it, but I didn't have to really do anything. Even above the roof line was in good shape. Okay. But the gutters and downspouts were bad. The windows needed to be replaced. It had window air conditioners, so I wanted those gone. It needed a new roof. Okay. And the roof had 2 layers on it. If anybody knows what that means, they basically put another layer of shingles over top of that. And some areas that's not allowed. Some areas will allow up to 3 layers. And I believe in Cincinnati, you can do up to 3 layers, which is really not the right way to do it. It's the cheap way to put a roof on. It's not the right way to do it. The right way is to basically strip down right to the OSB, the plywood, and determine if you've got any issues or problems with that, replace that plywood, that type of thing. So I need a new roof, new windows, new fireplace. I wanted to get rid of the window air conditioners and put a central air in because I knew that would really raise up the value of the property, because most houses in that area, and I say most, I shouldn't say that, maybe 40 to 50% of them have window air conditioners. So, which is not a bad thing. A lot of people live their whole lives with window air conditioners. So I just knew from a value standpoint, whether I was going to keep it as a short-term rental or a long-term rental or student housing or flip it, it would bring me a lot better return. So let's keep going, Keith, if we could, through the pictures.
Yeah, and so just to let everybody know. So this,
Yeah.
if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat. Just if you don't mind, stay muted, but put it in the chat, and then Scott will get to it. But hey, Scott, real quick, because as
Yeah.
we go through these, yeah, we can see the window units there. But it sounds like you was able to walk through this property by yourself in the sense of you was able to, you had your networking like you said, but you was also be able to walk through it and to see certain things. Did you also learn that? And of course
Yeah.
over
So,
time, but does the
right,
class kind of
right.
talk about that?
Absolutely, absolutely. So obviously, what you want to get to, and you can't, if you're new to in real estate investing, maybe you've done a deal, maybe you have a rental property, but maybe you're on today and you're new at this and you're really trying to figure it all out. And so you're not going to know right away, what to look for, but there are some things that are through our education that actually talk about the, 4 to 6 things you should, that really make up a bulk of your rehab budget that you need to look at. And, from structure, okay, to electrical, to plumbing, to HVAC, you start looking at your major cost items like the windows. The windows on this were $7,500, and so that's a pretty big chunk of the rehab. The roof, things like that. So you look at those. And I was only there, Keith, to be honest with you. I probably was there no more than 30 minutes. And because I knew the market, okay, and that's important to understand what's going on in the area where you're going to acquire property, whether you're going to keep it as a rental or you're going to flip it or whatever you're going to do with it. Knowing the market. Now, maybe in the beginning you don't know it as well as you will at some point. That's why you build relationships. That's why you know, and I have over the last 9 years, 8 years, I've got 3 or 4 really good realtors that I can really rely on. I've narrowed down to about 3 really good wholesalers, and then of course I've built my contractor. So I was able to walk through this within 30 minutes and really come up with a rough renovation budget on this. So what you're seeing here is that's a picture of the back steps, which I needed to repair. That's the front porch. Obviously, I looked at the ceiling on the roof and the front porch, and that was in really good condition. Um, I didn't like the shutters. I needed to remove those, the security bars, the old broken screens on the front porch. But as you can see, the front porch concrete, that is not concrete. It may look like concrete in the picture, but that was actually astroturf or fake grass type of thing, an old carpet. So I couldn't determine what it looked like underneath. Um, and so I did peel up one of the corners of it, just to see, what was going on. And they had painted it prior. So at one point, the porch was concrete, and then they painted over it, and then they ended up putting this carpet over top of it, which was really popular many years ago. People would always put that indoor outdoor carpet type stuff on their front porches, back porches, stuff like that, their front steps. So you saw where the light fixture was; it wasn't there. Um, I determined that I was going to put all new electrical fixtures in the house. Keep moving on if you could, Keith. Okay, this is the other side of the house. So basically this house has a rear entrance, which you saw. It has a side entrance, which is this picture here. And then on the front porch, it has 2 doors going in. Okay. When I acquired the property, it was being used as a single family home. But at some point, somebody was using it as a duplex. And a lot of the older homes, this home was built in 1926. So a lot of the older homes uh, were set up that way and had 2 front entrances. Now, this other picture on the right, um, basically, you will see that is the balcony on the front from the second level. You can see a lot of fascia damage. That's that board that runs on your right below your roof line going up into your gable. Um, and then of course you see a lot of if you can see the windowsill and the casing around the window, that was had some water damage. Again, I don't believe the owner had put much money into this, but overall, the siding, it was the aluminum siding. If anybody's familiar with that old aluminum siding, that was actually in pretty good shape. I had to replace a few corners, but I didn't have to replace any of the siding itself. I ended up, there's a product, a Bondo type product. So anything that was dented or had holes in it, we Bondoed over that, sanded it, and then repainted it at the end. So, and the other thing you want to look at before, if you're looking at a house and you're looking at siding and you're looking, oh, that's, what if I just completely, put new siding on it? Okay. Well, do I remove that siding and put new siding on it? Do I put new siding over top of that? Because sometimes people do that. But what we found fairly quickly is by kind of pulling up from the siding, this property had asbestos siding underneath of it. So it was already sided over that. Now, if you, long as you don't touch or you don't affect or do anything to that, it's okay. It's safe enough. It's fine. But if we would have pulled that siding off, we would have had to do a pretty expensive abatement, basically, and with the asbestos. So we kept the siding. And again, your front porch. Okay, that's the side by the front porch where it's an old phone cable system. There was a lot of overgrowth in the yard. So we were going to clean that up. Nothing major. Keep going there, Keith. That'd be great. So that had this house has a freestanding 2-car garage. Okay. Now, first of all, off-street parking in this area in Cincinnati by Xavier University, this is walking distance to the university. So for anybody knowing walkable scores, if you ever heard about that, where you can look and it tells you your walkable scores, it talks about, is there transportation close by, buses, railroad, different things like that. So this has a really high walkable score because you can actually walk to the university. But this has a nice long driveway and has a freestanding garage, and it's functional. The garage doors are not original. They've been replaced. They were working fine. They were filthy. The tracks were gross. They needed to be relubed, WD-40 cleaned up. And then one of the sides had a fairly new LiftMaster garage door opener. But the key thing was the garage was in pretty good shape. Okay. Most garages in these old homes are in really bad shape. And because they don't do anything to them. If they put any money into the property, they put it into the house first and the garage last. So that was a big draw for me. Here's the other picture of the balcony. It had some really old wrought iron railing up there, which was extremely loose. I mean, if I leaned against it, I probably could have fell off. It was that bad a shape. So I knew I was going to have to replace all that, pull that off. And, because of the height, Keith, I had to go to, these are some of the things you'll learn, but because of the height, I had to go to a 42-inch high railing, not your standard 36. And because of the height of it and for code and all that. The only permit, if somebody asks, the only permit that we pulled is electrical on this because I upgraded the service. I did not change any structure wall-wise. I did not add a bathroom, remove a bathroom, anything like that. So I didn't have to rip out any of the old plaster or sheetrock. So the only permit I had to pull on this was the electrical permit to upgrade the service because you'll see it here in a minute. So keep moving if you could. This is kind of how it looked. I mean, it wasn't horrible. I'm sure a lot of you have seen a lot worse, homes that you walk through that you're thinking about acquiring. But I was looking for, structural issues. I was looking for, I'm looking at the ceilings to see if there's any water leaks. And there was a water leak in a couple spots. It was dry, but you could see the stains on the second level. That's one of the things you always want to look up at your ceilings and the corners and all that. And you can see if there's been previous water leaks. And even if there's not a stain, if you see an area where they kind of repainted it or respackled it or something. That means it was probably a water leak. So anyway, it wasn't horrible, but when we acquired it, the person who was living there was an older lady, and it was actually owned by a trust. And it was owned by 5 family members who were in this trust. And so it took a while to get all this put together because one of the family members lived in Hawaii, and that individual did not have email, did not have a phone. Okay. I know that sounds crazy. Who in this world currently does not have email or a phone? And so that took a little bit of trickery to get that all signed off and closed and all that. But again, living room, bedroom, you can keep moving, Keith. One of the things I did, guys, is in these older homes, you can all imagine they originally had hardwood. So one of the things you can do is go to a corner or something with the carpeting and pull it up, and not completely remove it, but you can pull it up far enough because it's typically down with what they call tack strips along the edges. And you can pull it up and you can see what kind of wood is underneath and what's going on. You can't see all of it, but you can get an idea if you do it in a couple, 2 or 3 different spots in the house. So that's kind of what, after we started painting and spackling and repairing, that's kind of some progress pictures. You can see also that we'd already replaced the windows there. We had removed the shutters on the front. You can see some of the old wood windows sitting up against the house. Um, if you want to keep moving on there, Keith. Okay, in this picture, you can see where we're starting to work on the back of the house. We ended up rebuilding that little overhang over that back door. We took off all the old screen doors, storm doors. One of the things, like if I'm going to consider keeping a property as a rental property, even if the screen or storm door is in good shape, I end up removing those because they end up getting damaged. And then all of a sudden, your tenant, if you have tenants, they're like, hey, the storm doesn't work, door doesn't work anymore, the screen door is broken. And then their expectation is they want you to replace it. So we just remove it. You can see in here now the left picture, this is the in progress picture, is Keith Scott. You can see that we've got new LVP. That's luxury vinyl planking. It looks like hardwood. It acts like hardwood. It's very durable, but we've already started putting it in. That's in the kitchen. That's some of the new kitchen cabinets. Those cabinets are, because of the ceiling is only 8 foot tall in this house. I ended up only electing to go to 30-inch high 36 high cabinets. I didn't want to put 42s in there. So those are the new cabinets that we put in. They all have soft closes on the drawers and the doors and stuff like that. If you want to keep moving through there, Keith. Okay, there's a close-up of some of the new windows. Again, we replaced all the windows. We went to dual pane, dual window where you can actually swing open the top or the bottom to clean it, keep maintenance on it. They all have screens on it. If you want to keep moving, you guys see, if you go back a little bit, Keith, one slide, if you could for me. So if you see these little white things here on the siding and stuff, that's where we've used Bondo, and it dries really fast, and you can sand it, and it just, any blemishes, it works on metal. They've got it for concrete, they've got it for wood. So that's all been done there. You can't really see above the top right here on this right picture, but we did have to replace some of the soffit up there and some of the fascia. We replaced that. Go ahead, Keith. So one of the things I mentioned earlier is one of the costs involved was the roofing. So we ended up taking off all the 2 layers of roof. We ended up taking the underlayment off on both the garage and the house. You'll see here in the right picture, you'll see some new wood down because some of the sub floor that some of the, see, this is not, if you look at this, this is the original, on the right picture, this is the original wood that was put down 198 years ago. Okay. This is because they didn't use 4x8 sheets of OSB like we do today. And so we actually ended up using the same type of slats to match in with it. It was just as easy as trying to cut a piece of OSB out, but we wanted the height, or the thickness was the important thing too, because it's thicker. I mean, this is some really nice wood, and people would never use this wood on a roof today because it's so expensive. So we bought some of that, cut it up. I think only bought like 3 sticks of it, 3 8-foot, maybe 4 8-foot sticks. No, actually 3 12-foot sticks. And so that's what that is. And then you can see the garage over here in the picture. That garage, we pulled all that. Oh, go back a little bit. You can see some new boards on that as well. So we've repaired that. And then on the left, you can see that's your underlayment. That's all been put down, getting ready for the shingles itself. You can see the shingles were started. The starters were started over here on the bottom left.
How much time did it take for you to actually, do this rehab? Or
It
this?
took longer. It took longer than I expected. Like I said, last year, I finally got, from a health standpoint, I finally got to feeling like my old self again. And so it took longer. You know, we actually got it under contract, I believe, in February or March. So this took over a year, and normally this would only be 6 to 9 months project, probably. I did have a couple hiccups, a couple things which I'll share, because one of the parts of real estate investing is not everything always goes accordingly to plan, right, Keith? You
Correct.
can prepare and you can budget and things like that. But when you, even on a brand new home, if you're building a home from the ground up, some things can come up. More so with a fix and flip, more so with a home that's 98 years old. And we ended up having one of those that cost us some time. So, and I'll explain that here in a little bit. So yeah, Keith, that's the budget. Now here's where you can see they've got the ridge vents up here. This is where you have a gap below this, so you can get the proper circulation in your attic. It can do it. Basically there's a draw system with the air, and things that, don't worry about needing to know this right now, but you have to create a draft or a draw through your attic. And so there are some vents on the soffits or on the sides of the gables. And so air flows through that, and then it basically creates a natural draft upward, and the air has to come through. So these are ridge vents here. That's a 3-dimensional architectural shingle. It's got a lifetime warranty on it. Okay. And then we had to do some new flashing around the chimney. Okay. The chimney cap was already in place, and it was in good shape, that little cap up there. Okay, so it vents. And these older homes, your furnaces and your hot water heaters are vented up through these. So this was still in pretty good shape, real good shape, to be honest with you. But we put new flashing. We did have to put new boots on the vents for the stacks. That's for your plumbing stacks. I think we had 4 total. There's one in the back left corner and one over to the right, and then there's one up on the far right and the left that you can't see. This is a picture. I think I just shared this picture. This was the new light fixture going in, because the old box was so big and we demoed that out. We ended up, my electrician put that up, and he was like, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to try to repair around this, or what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want you to pop that ring down. I want you to pop that all off, and I'll put what they call a beauty ring. It's a decorative beauty ring, and you might see that in some of the finished pictures. So I don't know how we're doing on time, Keith. Have you any questions come in that we need to jump on as well?
No questions, but yeah, we are getting kind of a little bit short on time. So
Okay, let's keep moving. So this is as the finished product is coming together. You got a new motion floodlight in the back. You can see the new air conditioner sitting next to the back steps. You can see where we rebuilt the new steps concrete wise. Um, the handrails were actually really solid on this. These are some very old wrought iron pipe type uh, handrails, but they're solid as a rock. So we were able to keep that. Um, we ended up repainting the foundation. I did have to do a little bit of tucking on some of the concrete on that foundation that you saw before, and we repainted it and it turned out really good. I wanted to come out with a nice color contrast. I wanted to come out with some stuff that'll pop. I like when you walk. One of the things I look at is in the area, like on that street, I look at all the other houses and I look at what can I do to make this house stand out, both aesthetically, vision wise, like because guys, when people look at pictures online, that's what they make their decisions on of like where I'm going to go look at. 80% of homes are first looked at online before they're acquired. So you got to have a really good look compared to the other properties around you. This house, this house across the street, this gray house had just been renovated, and it was renovated as a single family home, and it ended up selling for three. No, it ended up selling for 289, I think. The finishes were not done that well. This picture right here, you can see we got the whole new balcony put in and secured correctly. This is a 42-inch height, and it's solid as a rock, and it's a beautiful selling feature for this house. You can see the new windows, the new external sconce lights. You can see where we repaired a lot of the soffit and replaced some fascia. That's all been done. Keep moving, Keith. That's the new front porch. I hope you guys like that. I loved how it turned out. I love the color contrast. I went with a nice red finish. It's not like a, it's more like a brick red. Oh, thank you very much. We think it is beautiful. So does the owner who's going to buy it. The doors and the ceiling all pop. You can see all the new paint. Like you can look at that siding right now. If you would have seen remember the picture, the first picture, there was all kinds of dents and holes. We removed the shutters that had screws in them on that window, but with that Bondo and some nice sanding, it turned out pretty good, guys.
I like how
There's
you did
another
that. I
view.
like I like how you did that. The ceiling.
Well, that's called B board, and that was already there. So we were very fortunate. If it was bad, we would have ripped it out and put B board up there because it really gives it a nice finish. Now, this price of home, we wouldn't put tongue and groove board up there. If it was like I got a house that I'm building right now that's going to be 600,000. The back balcony and the front porch all have tongue and groove in it, but this one doesn't need it because of the price. There's a finished picture on the left. You can see how we put that black um, roof, and we did the contrast with the white, the black, and the gray and the red. And oh my gosh, it really pops. I hope you guys can see it in the picture. In person, it's even more impressive. So that's where you enter through the right door. Remember, at one time this was a duplex, but I finished this property, guys, where someone could keep it as a duplex. They could rent it out as short-term rental, upstairs, downstairs. Sorry if this is already answered. I joined late. How was the house finance? Oh, haven't got to those numbers yet. We'll talk about that in a second. So this is the entrance. You can get to the first floor right through here, or you can hook a right. Like as you walk in past this door, you go to right and go down to the basement. So second floor, first floor, both have private entrances to the basement. And here's the stairs that go up. Now, typically, I do not do these stairs this way. I don't know if you guys are catching this, but so we resanded this wood on the steps. And good question. I was about to hit that. We finished this, but because we wanted to keep this open for different acquisitions, different exit strategies, I ended up putting a rubber tread on here. Okay. It looks really good, and we got it down installed correctly. It doesn't peel up. It's not a trip hazard, but we ended up getting this, and you can get this like best place I found it was on Amazon, But this, like if it was a higher priced home and I was doing it more for just a flip or for an end user, like one family living there, I wouldn't have done these. But this here, from a safety liability standpoint, since you're coming right off the front porch, if their shoes are wet, if there's ice or snow outside, this keeps that liability down. Keep going, Keith. This is how one of the living rooms ended up being. It turned out really good. Again, I put all new light fixtures, all new flooring in here. When we peeled the carpet up, it had the original hardwood, but it was really damaged. Matter of fact, we had to pull some of the boards out and replace them. And we went with a budget. We looked at, what if we just went in and refurbished it, like literally sanded it all down, refinished it, reapplied stain, polyurethane, and then we looked at the cost of just leveling the floor out, okay, with floor leveling and make it nice and level, and then just come in with luxury vinyl planning. And this was about $2,000 less to do it this way. So we ended up going this way. You can see I bought all new blinds. I put 2-inch faux blinds in throughout the house. What is the name of the plastic things you put on the stairs? It's just a tread. It's stair tread. You can pull it up on any of your lumber sites, Lowe's, Home Depot, but I got this from Amazon. I've used it before in rental properties. And a little trick real quick, I cut the front edges of those off.
That pizza good, ain't it?
Yeah. So
Yes, it really
what you
is.
see here, Alvin's off mute there. What you see here is you're looking into one of the bedrooms, and so this house, this could be used as a front living room, or this could be used as a bedroom. We finished this off where it could either be 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 1 kitchen on the first floor, or two bedrooms, 1 bath, 1 kitchen, and a living room on the second floor. So each floor has a living space, a kitchen, and it could be 2 bedrooms on each floor. So, and there's a half bath in the basement. So there's 2.5 baths here. Lots of closets. Keep moving, Keith. This is how the bathroom ended up finishing. We did go with new vanities, new mirrors, new light fixtures, new bathroom accessories, new faucets. We did keep the toilets. They were in good shape. They were not original. We had to clean them up, take the wax rings. We had to replace some bolts on some of them, and we kept those. We actually kept the old bathtub. These bathtubs, this is an original bathtub. This bathtub is 100-year-old bathtub, and we ended up sanding it all down and painting it black, and it turned out really nice. The white is a caulk line around it, and then we actually resurfaced this. I have an individual, every community has these, but you can find people that actually resurface bathtubs, and this turned out, it looks brand spanking new. And then we use this creative rod. Again, I bought that from Amazon for shower curtains. So this could be a shower or a bathtub. Here's one of the finished kitchens. This is on the first floor. It's got a nice kind of cherry wood, soft close on all the doors. You see a little blue tape up there. That was my mark to fix a little nail hole. I'm very picky on finishes. I go through everything with blue tape. Microwave. I went with electric. This did have gas, but I ended up capping the gas off. I don't like gas if it's going to be a rental property. I think you set yourself up for too many issues, gas leaks from just, liability. So I removed that. That's electric. Stainless steel appliances, really nice appliances. Crown molding, which is not expensive, but it really makes the cabinets look nicer. You see the blinds. So this is that rear door that goes, and if you can see through the blinds, you can see the garage through there. So, and then we put keyless entries in. So literally there's a keyless entry there, and there's one on the front. So keep going if you could, Keith. There's the new sink. We did go with this. I normally use granite, or I'm about to put quartz in another house, but this, because of the price point, when I acquired this property, I thought it would sell between $279 and $299. It's going to end up going for over $300. So we ended up using just a Formica countertop, and then we built this over here, which is used for, like, you put counter stools here, and people can eat here. We've got GFI outlets, three-prong GFI outlet, which you can't see in this picture. So people could do, like if this was student housing, or they wanted to hook up a laptop there, or they could eat there. All right. You can keep growing through. You can see the new flooring. There's another view of the kitchen. There's that countertop. There's that GFI outlet we put in there so they can, again, they can three prongs so they can hook up a laptop. You know, three people can sit here comfortably on a counter stool. You could put four, but it'd be a little tight. And then it's a brand new stainless steel refrigerator. These were closets that had two wood shelves in it. We turned it into a full-fledged pantry. So each house, each level has its own pantry. Keep moving, Keith, if you could. There's a view into the front room. We kept these doors. These are French doors, really cool, beautiful looking French doors. We did have to kind of rebuild them with Bondo to make them look brand new. We did put new hinges on. We kept the old door hardware, just painted it black. And then we put blinds in here. So if someone want to use it as a bedroom, there's a locking system. They can lock them and they can close the blinds so they can have privacy. There's your closet. There's the new, oh, there you go, go back to that, Keith. You would, can you guys see above that ceiling fan? There's that beauty ring that's above it. That kind of just finished it off. I wouldn't use that in a higher price home. And you can also see the smoke detector up there. Keep rolling if you could, Keith. Okay, here's another bedroom. So this is the back bedroom. So the first floor and the second floor are identical. This is the back bedroom. It's got a closet. It's not a walk-in closet, but I put new shelving in there as well. We took off all these grates. If you guys are familiar with old homes, these grates are super heavy. They're made out of cast iron. So we basically take them, power wash them, take a little metal brush to them, brush anything that needs to be brushed off, and then take them outside on a piece of cardboard and completely paint them with a couple coats of black, Rust-Oleum black paint, and it really makes it look nice. And another little trick is while you got your vents up and you clean out your vents, your ductwork, you go ahead and spray paint inside the ductwork. So when you look through here, you can't see anything. It's black. It looks really nice finish. Keep rolling if you could. There's from a view looking down those stairs. The handrail was in great shape. We didn't need to do anything but paint that. Again, hopefully you guys like the color contrast here. It's very neutral. We do have some wood tones, but then we got lots of grays and blacks and whites, so things pop. Both houses have hall closets for coat closets, or both floors have coat closets. You see that's there. Keep rolling there, Keith, if you could. So the furnace was not old. The furnace was only 6 years old. So it was in good shape. We did have to do some, you can see a couple new pieces of ductwork up here, up above, and some new insulation, this black insulation, that's for the coolant line. Going out to the air conditioner, we had to re-insulate that. This is the old ductwork. See how it's floating? If you look to the right, it's going up into that chimney, up through. Now today that would not be code. I could not do that, but since it was already pre-existing, I could do that. Keep rolling if you could, Keith. Okay, we had to upgrade. This is where I told you I had to pull an electrical permit. There is the sticker on the outside of it that we passed it. We had to put a 200 amp. If you're going to replace electrical, the cost difference between a 200 amp circuit and a 100 amp box is not that much. So we put a 200 amp in there, replaced all the breakers, updated it. We did keep the old paneling on in the basement because it's not a living space. And this home is a 100-year-old home. So a lot of these homes, they do get moisture in the basement. So this doesn't get like flooding in the basement, but it does get some moisture from time to time in there, with some water. So we did not replace this paneling. We just cleaned it up and made it look really nice. Keep going there, Keith, if you could. And then that's the final picture of the way the house turned on the outside. I hope you guys love the look. We put this thing on the market on a Thursday, and by the next Wednesday, we had 7 offers. This price, it ended up selling for more than originally I thought it would sell for. Let's go through the numbers here. Keith, how about some questions that we could possibly answer for folks?
Yep. So there was a question. Do you use the same contractors that you do new builds and your fix and flips?
Good question. So again, it's so important in the beginning as you build your business and you start your journey as an investor to start building what we call your cabinet. And this is your resources, the people that you're going to use to leverage to build your houses, to renovate your houses, to sell your houses, to find your houses, to market your houses, all that. And so in the beginning, you start building that team up. And so I have literally gone through some different people, guys. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I've been doing it for now almost 9 years, 8 years, and you go through some different contractors. But yes, the same electrician, I have three different electricians that I can use, and I use them on a renovation, whether it's a new build or not a new build. Okay. Same thing with the plumber, same thing with the HVAC guy, same thing with the roofer. The roofer that roofed this house also just roofed my new house. Okay. So yes, Keith, we do.
That's awesome. Awesome. And then there was another one. People said they love the kitchen, nice tub. Somebody was saying just to double check, single family? Because I know you kept the options.
So this house, Keith, has one water meter, has one electrical panel, has one furnace, has one hot water heater, and one gas meter. So all the all of that is, yeah, all that mechanics. I lost my train of thought, so I'm trying to speed up here. All the mechanics are single. So, but it can be used, and I finished it where it could be used as a duplex. It could be used as single family. It could be used as a multiplex. Now you might think, well, single family, why would someone buy this for a single family? Okay. Well, how many people do you know that have a mother or mother-in-law live with them? A lot of people. How many people have adult children living, or even, excuse me, I had a daughter or a sister that lived with my parents until she was 32. So, how many people have adult children or adults living in their house? And would love to have that second kitchen so they could do their own thing, live their own world, life, all that. So yes, single family with a what they call, some people call it a mother-in-law suite. Yes, so it can be used for different things. Now the person that's going to buy this property, she's actually in the medical field. She's single. She's in the medical field, and she's going to live on one level and rent the other level out to pay for her mortgage, basically.
Wow.
So it won't pay it all, but it'll pay substantially a lot. And so great strategy. She actually ended up being my highest bidder. And so yeah, we finished it several different ways. So I could have kept this at the end, but I went ahead and flipped it. Let's pull up some numbers, Keith, if we could. Did we get to most of the questions or all of them?
Yeah, it's like what part of town is this property in? And just before you say that, so as a real estate investors, one of the things we do, we solve problems. So you solve problems at the very beginning, right? Because multiple families, siblings was, you had to get in contact to be able to acquire the property. You built a team with a real estate agent and some other folks who understood that you actually in action, right? So people love to help others and move things along. They knew that you take action and you were doing things. So it was kind of easy thing to contact you. And then here you left it open for whoever the new home buyer is going to be to have different options. And the person who saw it, who's actually getting the house, which is why he's not really there, because he has inspectors and everything going through there right now. So thank you, Scott, for being flexible. Because I know people love to see it, live, but you actually are closing up the last pieces of that as you about to go into the numbers. So I think that's pretty much all of the questions there.
Well, you said what part of town was it
Yes.
in? So I live in northern Kentucky. So I'm just across the river in a town called Florence, Kentucky. And so this is in Cincinnati, and this is it's Cincinnati, and it's really close to Xavier University. It's walking distance to Xavier. It's 2 miles from University of Cincinnati. It's really close to I-71 as it runs north out of Cincinnati toward Columbus. Hopefully that'll help.
So would you consider this like a local project for you?
Yes, definitely local. I mean, for me, drive wise, 30 minutes to get there, that's pretty local.
That's awesome. I think we kind of went through house hacks, people are saying. One thing I just want to make sure, because you understood real estate investing, you learned how to do that. You even though you say it took you some time, one of the things I realized, when you know multiple strategies and you are doing, and you using your strategy and you're understanding how the market is and you knew the area, real estate investing can be forgiving if you know what you're doing, right? And that's one of the key things I want people to understand, that, real estate can be forgiven. And if you don't know what you're doing, then that's when it really hurts you. So when you have a conversation with somebody and they say, hey, does real estate investing, does it really work? You got to understand where they're coming from. And from Scott, what I'm hearing from you, you knew what you was doing. You was confident. Life
Yeah.
happens, but you still came out on top, what you about to show your numbers.
Absolutely. But I didn't know that from day one, Keith. I didn't know that in the third month or the 6th month. Okay. I'm still learning stuff after doing 25 to 30 projects. I'm still having 16 rental doors. I'm still learning every day. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I couldn't have done any of this without this community and without this education. Okay. The support, the collaboration, um, you know, this particular deal, like all my deals, I'm not using my own money. I'm using other people's money. I'm using private lenders where I'm giving a good return on their money. And they're my business partners, basically. They're literally partners in my deal. I don't call them just my lenders, they're my partners. And I do deals over and over and over and over with them. And so, but I didn't have that day one. I had always heard you don't have to have money or you don't have to have credit to do real estate. And I knew that people were doing it, but I didn't kind of believe it, Keith. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, I'm from Missouri. I grew up in Missouri. That's the show me state. Someone's going to need to show me that you can literally do a deal without using your own money or your own credit. Now, I didn't have bad credit, so that wasn't a problem. But, I didn't have access to a lot of money. I've literally done projects that were over $1 million. I didn't have those funds, okay, right at my fingertips, but I was able to build relationships through this community that I was able to get the private lending to do the deal. Okay. And just I want to preface that $1 million deal was not my first deal. Okay. That was along the line. But without the education and the knowledge, even being a project manager, Keith, understanding how to build a retail store, okay, I still didn't know what I didn't know. And so with the education and learning the right way through creative acquisitions, I was able to get this house. They wanted 148 for this property. And through negotiations, I was able to get it for 120. Okay. Because I was able to tell them, like, hey, here's what's going to cost. I literally shared my numbers with them. This is going to cost me between 80 and $100,000 to get the full market value. And I literally shared numbers with them, and they're like, okay. And I can't, if I buy it at 148, I'm gonna barely make any money. And if I have what we call an oops or something comes up, I might break even or lose a little money. I said, I can't do that. So I ended up getting it for 120. So let's go over the numbers. But I did want to mention that, Keith, the education is so important, from creative acquisitions to fix and flip to buy and hold strategies to the short-term rental to understanding how to work with property managers. There's so much at our fingertips that I've had to really embrace. And some of it I've like looked at multiple times to help me.
Yeah, I agree. And just, analyzing numbers, right? And to have the freedom to be able to do the things that you wanted to do. You talked about the community, the support, the systems that that you talked about, not just the education, but how all that comes together and how people really trusted you, right? They validated you. And then, at the end of the day, what we about to do is kind of show me the money. You're like, all right, we talked about this deal, you showed us, and now you're going to go over your numbers and it's looking pretty awesome.
Yeah. So when we initially acquired this property, they were wanting 148, and they had had a couple offers, um, actually a little north of this number. Okay. But I built a little relationship with the whole seller process, the seller itself, because she was actually there when I went to the house. So I got to talking to her and learned about, asked about her family. I mean, generally, not just.
I think you went mute there for a second there, Scott.
You. And so, I found that out. She's ready to go to assisted living, families all over the country, blah, 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 all that stuff. So we were able to negotiate this and get it to 120, Keith. Okay. That's what the actual contract was for. We wrote it, closed it at 120. Now, a lot of times people forget there's other costs involved. So in the acquisition costs, I had to pay a little money to the wholesaler. Okay. I had legal fees. Okay. I had basically some closing costs on acquiring the property. So those were about $3,200. Okay. I had budgeted somewhere between 80 and 100 when I walked the property. Right now, because I'm pretty much completely done, I'm going to be a little short of 89. I'm actually at 87.5 or 80, but it's with some of these final little walk items or punch out items. I'll be right at 89. I always kind of round things up. So money costs are a little right around 23.8 to 2400. So depending on what day we close, it could be 24.5. And again, remember these rehab costs, you might think, well, that's a lot of money. Okay. But to literally build enough value where I could sell it, I ended up going to get it under contract for 306. Okay. To get that value, I had to, the big things, I had to upgrade the electrical service, put a new roof in, put all new windows in, um, put a new air conditioner in. Okay. All new flooring, all new electrical fixtures, new vanities, new kitchen cabinets, two sets of kitchen cabinets, and all new appliances. And so those things they add up. So that's 89. Money cost 24.5. Now that money cost would have been less money, Keith, if I would have closed and got this thing sold in 9 to 12 months. Okay. So that figure could have been closer to 20. All right. But again, I want my investors to get a good return on their money. Okay. Holding costs. What are holding costs? Okay. The taxes on this property are about $1,300 every 6 months. Okay. So I have taxes, I have insurance because the day I buy the property and it's in my company's name, my LLC's name or my S Corp's name, it's uninsured. Even though nobody's working in it day one, it's insured. You got to insure it. So that's insurance, that's utilities. This yard has a grass, so it has to be cut. Um, we went through a winter, so I had to do some snow removal. Not much this year, thank goodness. Had to do some snow removal and had to have salt preparation for the ice that we had. So there's a lot of things that go into those costs there for holding costs. So that's $5,200. My selling costs are for my realtor fee and my closing fees. They're going to be about 21.9, and then at 306, uh, then we're potential profit of 42,110. It's going to be right in that ballpark.
Awesome, awesome. Man, that's good. Well, that's like, thank you for sharing it, even just to break it down. So hopefully, a lot of people, took some notes and understand, like, all the effort that went into it and how he was able to, navigate through this thing called real estate investing and through this project. And if you don't mind showing some love, yep, people are saying, yep, they like it. Thank you for sharing. Scott, you did a really awesome job on this one. And again, congratulations. And again, thank you for for just doing this. I mean, because you you are a very busy person. You got a lot of projects going on, but you took the time out to just share, with us that this can be done, but you have to start, right? So we can talk about this all day long, but if you're not in the action of doing it, then nothing happens, right? And so again, thank you for again looking at the chat to say, great information. Thank you for sharing. Hey, they really appreciate it. Hey, thank you. It looks awesome. Great job. You know, again, Scott, I'm gonna just turn over to you like we normally do. The last couple seconds, just kind of like, what's those last couple nuggets you want to get out to people to, because um we already told them that they got invited to this. Go ahead and tell thank you to the person who invited you to this meeting. And if you want to know more, just reach out to the person who invited you and says, hey, I want to know more about this community. I want to understand how to pivot and how to navigate this thing called real estate investing. I want to build that network that he talked about. I want to be able to negotiate. I want to be able to build that trust that people have in me, where when I use what they call OPM, other people's money, that I do it right. So it's a win-win for everybody. So I want to turn over to you, Scott.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Keith. This business is definitely a numbers business. The numbers have to work. The numbers don't lie. You don't want to ever look at the numbers and try to fudge the numbers, which means, oh, I could have said 80 to 100, and I said, well, maybe I can squeeze out here. Maybe I can get the budget down to 70, you know, that type of thing. Okay. You do have to understand your market. You have to understand and establish an ARV right in the beginning. What is the repair value going to be? Because every number works backwards from that. You have to understand what the ARV, and the other thing, which we didn't talk about, Keith, is you have to literally, and I was literally formulating while I was walking that house, coming up like, okay, I need new windows, I need a new roof. I'm going to take the window air conditioners out, put all new windows in, and put in a central air conditioner in. I'm going to put two kitchens, doing that. I'm thinking of who is the end user? Who's going to be my client that's going to buy, rent, live here, whatever? Start formulating that and come up with your different strategies. And that is a big part of when you acquire the property. Okay. And so, and then just, whoever invited you out, guys, get back with them, embrace what they're sharing with you, because when I got started with this group, I literally got in a car and drove somewhere to meet people. And you can do the same thing if you want, or if you have a local community, you know, plug into something locally. But what I'm saying is you need to get connected. I love, Keith, you talked about taking action. And, I really wanted to become educated and understand different the different facets, from how to build relationships, how to use time better, how to learn to use other people's money, how the building process worked, how the rehab process worked. This community offers all that. Okay, whether you want to do a short-term rental, whether you want to do a commercial property, whether you want to develop land. I've done developing land myself. If you want to do all that stuff or any of that, this is the place to be, Keith. It really is.
Yeah, and I
And
agree. I definitely agree.
I appreciate everybody jumping on today and taking out their hour and 15 minutes. We ran over. I apologize. I could have gone on for 2 or 3 hours, Keith. As you know, I'm a big talker, but I got so much I want to share and give back to people. And there's so many little intricate things I could have talked about that could have maybe helped somebody or whatever. But again, we're budgeted to this time, and I'd love to come back. As you and I co-host these every week, I'd love to come back, in a month, maybe sometime in July, and feature my new build house too. I think a lot of people would be excited to see that.
I know I am, because that's one of the things I haven't done, and I'm just like oh I'm just oh I know Scott's going to talk about his new build, and that's kind of encouragement. And so yes, there's time, but you know what, we felt your heart, and that's
All
what
right.
why people stayed and really wanted to plug in. Again, thank you for sharing, everybody, for contact the person who invited you, tell them thank you, ask those questions, don't walk around with it in your head, ask the question of the person who
Yep.
invited you, and just get that taken care of, and you awesome property tour. Scott, love you, and everybody have a great
You
day.
too, buddy. All right. Take care, guys.